I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, November the 10th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services. They're your LRP specialists. Dakota Moss and his other agents there can answer your questions about LRPs. How much is the government going to kick in to help you pay that premium? How much is the premium going to be? How is that based on? How does it pay off? Any kind of questions that you have. If you're turning cattle out for winter forage like wheat, or even if you're keeping them up in a lot, backgrounding them, you need to get LRPs on them, guys. The prices are high enough. You got to protect yourself. And for you cow-calf producers, you can even put protection on unborn calves and protect yourself on the market on them. Go to livestockriskservices.com. Supply down, demand up, market steady. That doesn't make much sense. This fat cattle market defies the laws of economics, as I've learned them and know them pretty well. But the thing that has to work is for the laws of economics to work, you have to want to turn a profit. So ceteris paribus, everything else remaining equal, you got to try to want to make money. I mean, you have to go for the goal or it doesn't work. And I just can't understand why these fat cattle sellers, especially those that have well-finished fat cattle, continue to take steady money. We've established the market on Wednesday, direct fed cattle trade in both the north and the south at steady prices. We're going to let this opportunity completely get away from us if we don't try to do something. And why they don't ask more for the cattle and demand more for the cattle, I can't figure out. But your southern plain, they frustrate the northern plains because the northern plains feels like that they're hanging on their coattails, although $2 or $3 behind. But the heck of it is, the northern plains counts on the southern plains to keep a basis for them on the board. They did that on Wednesday by selling cattle at 150, steady money with last week. Your December live cattle futures contract was down pretty good, so it settled in there about 151 and a half. You're selling your cattle in the north at 153. There's an extra $1.50 for you whenever you close out your hedges there. But I've been hearing several people say of late, and I would probably agree with that, but the grids and the sweetheart deals in the southern plains are likely much more favorable to the cattle feeder than those in the northern plains, because guys keep taking them, and why wouldn't you? If the other guys that are selling negotiated won't stick with you, and you guys can't get a higher market week to week, might as well can't beat them, just join them. And so you get all the guys in the southern plains getting in on some kind of a grid or a sweetheart deal. If you don't have a lot of volume, you may not be able to get a sweetheart deal, but you can sell the cattle on the grid or some kind of arrangement, but you have to promise all your cattle to one packer, eliminating competition, which is what they really want to do. But the northern plains would likely love the grids that the southern plains are working with, but the northern plains won't get that. They got better cattle up there. Those cattle would be too expensive if they were working with the grids that the southern plains guys are working with, although they don't have nearly as many primes in the south. So they can offer them a little bit more money, or maybe a lot more money, maybe as much as $100 a head more if they get a prime carcass out of theirs, but not too many to go. But our midterm elections are over. We can stop worrying about that. We did not get Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act done before your midterm elections. I don't see a whole lot of hope of getting it done in the near future. For one reason, your biggest opponent, John Boozer there, that's on the Ag Committee, in the Senate and owned and bought and paid for by those big protein providers in Arkansas, where that's his estate right there. He's against it. He doesn't want to put it up for a vote. You've got your National Corporate Beef Association that has done everything in their power. That's mostly what they've been working on for the last 6 months or a year, is just throwing barriers in front of Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act, and they brag about it to their affiliates, and they're really proud of themselves for getting that staved off, because they do not want cattle price discovery or market transparency. They don't want that, or their biggest members, the big four packers, don't want it, and they've got to cater to them. So they've staved that off, at least for now. It's not that we give up fighting for it. It's not that we're not going to keep pressing for it. Chuck Grassley also won. He has promised that he won't give up until he gets it, and we're going to keep working on that. But as of right now, it doesn't look like it's on the near term. Let's talk about your cattle futures on Wednesday. December live cattle futures down 147 at 150, 157. February was down 62 at 154.15. Back months on live cattle down 20 and down 47. And most all of that negative there was because of the negotiated trade that was established at steady prices whenever we knew that that supply was down and demand was up. But feeder cattle down for the second day in a row for the most part, with corn being down. So you would think that we'd get a little shot in the arm there, but the cost of these feeds and forage are just so much that guys can't figure a break even on them. And so they're backing away from some of these cattle. Of course, we're going to see some outstanding sales, and I'm going to give you several at the end of this report. But for the most part, on the average, your cattle prices for yearlings, the few that are around, and it's mostly backgrounded yearlings, not very many grass yearlings anymore, and bigger calves continuing to sneak in to your index weights, so that it's going to make your prices go down. November feeder cattle down 55 cents at 177.72. January down a quarter, 179.65, and your back months on feeder cattle down 35 to down 20. Talk about your Chicago Board of Trade corn futures down 3 cents at 664.5. Beans up 15 3/4 cents at 14.59 3/4. Fat cattle trade, like I said, it got established on Wednesday. Of course, we don't know whether Colorado got established or not. Iowa, 5,000 head confirmed on Wednesday. Live sales from 152 to 153. Wait, that's exactly what we had last week. Yep. And dress sales from 240 to 242, also steady. Nebraska, 3,700 head confirmed on Wednesday, 153 and 242. Kansas, and pretty good trade for a midweek trade in the Southern Plains. 5,600 confirmed on Wednesday in Kansas. 150 was a live press. Few dress sales in Kansas from 237 to 238. Texas sold 6,000 head confirmed, all at 150 on Wednesday. Box beef cutout values backed up a bit after being up here for the last 6 weeks, really, and we've had a $20 rally in your choice boxes over the last 6 weeks or so, and it's made your packers be able to keep a pretty good margin while they're staving off the higher fat cattle prices. So you can't blame them. That's what they do, and they're very, very good at it. Choice cuts, 264.67, down 27 cents is all. Selects on Wednesday afternoon down 83 cents at 235.22. It's mostly your chuck and rib primals that have been responsible for the big rally. Most of your other cuts not doing all that well. Your slaughter, 381,000, just 4,000 less than last week at this point in the week, but 14,000 more than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. If you're sitting at your computer wanting to know what's going on in the cattle market, or you're sitting on your phone you got a little time and you're wanting to see what's going on, nationalbeefwire.com is your best website to go to for industry information, industry news, market information. It's got this report on there every day. These big quotes, these streaming quotes that I get that are on this machine right here behind me, that show big strings of cattle that's sold in sale barns just within the last 24 hours all over the country. They're on there streaming all the time. There's production sale information. Check out nationalbeefwire.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Wednesday set at 174.26, down 61 cents compared to the end of Tuesday there. Your big sales on Wednesday, of course, El Reno, OKC West, in Oklahoma there, 9,000 head for the 2-day sale. Of course, they sold calves on Tuesday and feeder cattle on Wednesday. The feeder cattle were lower, and they were quoted quite a bit lower than it looked to me on the automated report. It looked kind of steady to 2 lower, but they call feeder steers $2 to $4 lower, and I won't argue with that because they have good market reporting in Oklahoma where they do cover sales. Feeder heifers $1 to $3 lower, and a lighter test of true yearling feeders there. The calves on Tuesday sold steady to firm, and good demand noted for all classes. Plainer calves, colored up calves, unweaned calves that had their shots, and the good hard weaned calves with all their shots and turned back out. There was good demand for all of them, just at different price levels on how much of the work that you wanted to do. They also had 2 value-added programs that were featured at OKC West and El Reno this week. They included weaning and they included all the shots and third-party verification, so there was more demand for the calves. They had a really good calf sale, but I was impressed with a feeder steer quote that come out of there on Wednesday. 64 head of steers weighed 820 at 184 in El Reno. Pretty impressive quote there. How about winter livestock in Dodge City, Kansas? 3,600 head. Feeders there were steady to $3 lower. Calves were $4 to $8 higher. Easy to understand quote from a market reporter there. I got to congratulate him on that. Stick out sale in Dodge City was on some calves, and it was really a stick out sale. How about 74 head of nice calves in Dodge City, weighed 536 at 227. You don't see stuff like that very often in the Southern Plains. Been really dry around that country. How about Springfield Livestock Marketing Center in Springfield, Missouri? DV auction broadcaster. You can watch their sales, and they have a sale about every day of the week in Springfield between their cow sale, feeder sale, and dairy sales. And then they have special cow sales quite often too. But 92 head, 577 pound steer calves, and they were black and they were weaned, bring 204 in Springfield, Missouri. Your Zoetis stick out sale of the day was Bassett Livestock Auction in Bassett, Nebraska. They had 3,200 head there. Middleweight calves were steady to $2 lower. Some lighter weight and peewee calves were quoted sharply higher, but an awful good sale there in Bassett. You look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central, you see 795 head of 5-weight steer calves. They averaged 556 with a weighted average price on all of them of $211.71. 731 head of 6-weight steer calves in Bassett, averaged 653 with a weighted average price of $195.65. And on the heifers, 491 head of 5-weight heifers, averaged 540 with a weighted average price of $194.33. A few other individual quotes. How about North Arkansas Livestock, Green Forest, Arkansas? 73 head of steers weighed 659, bring 193 and a quarter standing in the ring, Green Forest, Arkansas, guys. How about Sterling, Colorado, Sterling Livestock Commission? They sell 64 peewee steers, weigh 461 at 250 and a half. Wow. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, your Macrocin No BS, top quote for the day. Indeed, come out of Bassett, Nebraska, was on the Sid Fairbanks steers. 186 head of them weighed 921 at 190 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.